Here I am, in the place to be. Mr. K&B, you can't fuck with me. Extra sexy, extraordinary. Palms are hairy, your mama pop. What up, y'all? It's K&B, the Sexy Ninja, in the place to be for a Paper Saber universe. This is the Sexy Ninjacast, a podcast all about my loves and interests. I just watched a movie. Happy 4th of July to everyone celebrating today. I felt, usually we watch Jaws. We did watch Jaws today. That's a tradition with me, my wife, and my kid. Because Jaws is such a great film, such a great movie. Inspirational, too, when you know the backstory of that film. But I wanted to do something a little different. I put on Captain America, the first Avenger that I've seen bazillions of times. Came out in 2011, 2 hours and 4 minutes. Directed by Joe Johnston, the guy that directed The Rocketeer, another one of my favorite movies. And as it being a holiday and what today represents and stuff like that, and thinking about how crazy split this country is, I wanted to watch something that I really do cherish this movie. Because it's a movie about Steve Rogers, who becomes Captain America at a certain point in this movie. But he's also a man that's just trying to be good. He's just trying to be a good man. And I don't know why, but this watch of the movie, I teared up, knowing what he had to sacrifice in the sense of, putting down the plane in the water and saying bye to Peggy and whatnot, and saying like, hey, you just need the right partner for our dance. And then thinking about it being like, man, and I see that paid off in Avengers Endgame, but here we go, with the starting of this, like this is his origin. This is where it happens with Captain America. You see with him and Bucky being his best friend and stuff like that, man. But Chris Evans, I remember when he was cast as Captain America, I was like, what? The Human Torch? Not another teen movie guy, this guy's gonna be Captain America? Like I remember being like, okay. Then I saw the picture, the first image of him in the suit, and I was like, whoa, yeah, okay. Now, well, hold on. He can look great in a suit, but let's see how he is in this movie. And I remember walking out of that movie and being like, damn. And this was like the next movie was the Avengers. This was a time when we didn't have superhero movies like every freaking 2 months. This was like a superhero movie every 2 years, and when phase 1 started coming out, it definitely did push the envelope of creating a cinematic universe, and it definitely was a gateway to where we're at now. It's crazy. But watching this movie, like all the notes hit, and Joe Johnston definitely delivers on such a well put together superhero film, action film, period piece, dealing with the Nazis, the war, and everything like that. And the cast is fantastic. Chris Evans, of course, Captain America. Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes. Hugo Weaving as Red Skull, even though this was after this, he's like, yeah, I'm done, And Stanley Tucci as Dr. Abraham, and what he brings to Steve and stuff like that. He brought him in to do the Super Soldier Serum project and stuff like that. Tommy Lee Jones as Chester Phillips. He's so Tommy Lee Jones in this, but he's Tommy Lee Jones, and he can be Tommy Lee Jones. Dominic Cooper, who plays Howard Stark, and I wish they did more because, I love his Howard Stark. They even expanded upon that in Agent Carter and stuff like that. Of course, Samuel L. Jackson shows up at the end here because he's Nick Fury. Toby Jones is Dr. Zola. And you got such a well-produced cast and a script, and the editing of this movie is just, it flows so nicely. Great lines in this movie. I don't like, there's a part where Dr. Abraham, when he brings in Steve, because Steve is like, he was lying on him, trying to get in, enlisted into the army because he wanted to go and fight. And Dr. Abraham asked him one simple question: do you want to kill Nazis? And he's like, is this a test? He goes, yes. He goes, I don't like bullies. I don't care where they come from. And Dr. Abraham chose him because he knew he was a good man.
And that alone, that scene, when he finally tells him, like, then why me, you know? And he talks about the superhero soldier serum, and in such a way that I love when he says, you know, Red Skull, he took the serum, and it played on everything he is as a bad person, and it reacted to that. Good person, like you, and he goes, after this, I just want you to promise me one thing. Be a good man. Not the perfect soldier, but a good man. And that scene, I cheered up a little bit because I love that scene so much, man. And then when Dr. Abraham dies after the experiment, after it goes well, you know, and Stanley Tucci, great actor on all levels, didn't have to say anything. And in that moment, you're like, oh man, this sucks, he's dead. But he just his finger points at his heart, and you're like, oh, pull on my heart, why don't you? And then what I really love too is you have Steve, who is in small form. You know, he's trying so hard, he's getting bullied, he's getting pushed around, he will not back down from a fight and this and that. Then even when he gets big, strong, he has to go through, like, you know, Tommy Lee Jones's character, you know, Chester's like, yeah, whatever, you know, we're going to go fight the actual war. I need an army, and all I got is you. And then he gets pulled aside. The guy's like, hey, man, you sell some bail bonds, bada bing, bada boom. You help with the war. And so he gets thrown into this Captain America gimmick, and he kind of owns it at a certain point. And, you know, he does films and movies, and he feels like a dancing monkey because he's just like, yeah, you know, and there's just great, like, montages showing, and it's the Star-Spangled Man and this and that. And then it cuts to reality when he's at, you know, this base, and he's trying to talk, and they're like, bring out the girls. You know, he's just like, yeah, what am I doing? You know, and then he finally, like, gets the courage to, when he finds out that Bucky's crew was taken, you know, and he goes and, like, he finds out, and he's like, yo, Bucky Barnes, and then Chester's like, yeah, they're gone, they're dead, whatever. You know how many of these condolences? Not even given a chance to go get them. They're like, they're too far behind enemy lines. Too far behind, blah, blah. So Steve takes it upon himself, and, you know, Peggy helps him, Howard Stark helps him. They fly him over. He jumps out. And, you know, and this is where we get there's so many great Easter eggs in this movie, man. We got the Howling Commandos that accompany him throughout the film, you know, help him fight this war. There's the Human Torch and the Stark Expo thing in the starting. We got the Tesseract, where all this crazy stuff begins with all the Infinity Stones in this movie. We get the hint at the Winter Soldier, you know, because with Bucky Barnes and, you know, dying and coming out of that train and stuff like that, you know, and there's, like I said, and then the great line, I can do this all day, you know, and seeing Hydra and everything like that. El Hydra, you know, seeing their origins, and I love the lines of how they outgrew the Nazi party. They're like, nope, you know, Schmidt was like, yep, nope, you know, I'm going to go take it this way, I'm going to go this route. I got the power of the gods, you know, he feels like he can walk among the gods, is what Dr. Zola says. And he, like, takes the Tesseract and he uses it to make these weapons for Hydra and stuff like that. And he wants to drop a bomb on New York and, you know, bomb America and take over. Not for the Nazi party. And he already feels like Hitler, like, yeah, that dude thinks so small and portions of this and that. He does this and that, but, you know, he's such a good bad guy. You know, and then when you finally get the reveal of him as Red Skull, you're like, holy shit. And it's Hugo Weaving, man. Hugo Weaving, I love so much, you know. And one of my favorite roles of Hugo Weaving is in V for Vendetta. You know, under that mask, we didn't need to see his face at all, but it's all in his voice, in his performance, and there's that great, you know, he just has such a great cadence and whatnot, and V for Vendetta, which I should do a rewatch of that too. You know, and it all comes down to Steve being a good man. And it's crazy, like, just this origin, how it unfolds and stuff like that. And when you see Bucky die, and, you know, how Steve deals with that, and he's like, yo, I want Schmidt. We're going after him. The Red Skull is mine. And also, too, there's just, you know, the origin of the suit alone, the way it plays out throughout the movie. Like, when he finally gets it, it's just like, hokey looking thing, and he actually wears it to go, and he gets the helmet with the A and the way, and after that, I remember when he saves everybody in the gate, he's like, hey, I'm Captain America. They're like, what? and playing upon that in the writing, he gets them all back to the base, and Bucky goes, hey, let's give it up for Captain America. And you just feel that. You're like, yeah, he's accepted. He's one for the little guy, because when they decide to go after Red Skull's bases with all these weapons and whatnot to stop Hydra and everything, the Nazis Hydra's who we need to stop. He gets the Howling Commandos to join him, and he goes to Bucky. He's like, hey, you're going to join Captain America, and we take on Hydra and stuff like that. He goes, no, I'm going to take the little kid from Brooklyn. The guy that would never give up. That's who I'm following. And it's just great chemistry between the two. And Sebastian Stan just brings a really, that's why I'm so excited for him. That's why, what's so crazy is, when you think about it, and how far we are in the lore of Marvel and the cinematic universe, how Sebastian Stan is still Bucky Barnes, and how he plays a big part. He's going to be in Captain America 4, Brave New World. And he had a show with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, of Falcon taking over the mantle of Captain America and stuff like that. And it's just so crazy. I remember being in theater, I'm like, oh, cool, we get the Avengers movie, and that's probably going to be about it. Yeah, no. I just love this fucking movie, man. And I just feel it is one of the perfect superhero movies of showing this. And after Bucky dies, he gets the posse together, and him and Peggy's relationship, the tease of it, and the constant, when he's like, oh yeah, taking a girl to dance, talking to a girl is awkward, where they're sitting in the car just before he gets the serum, and he's just like, yeah, it's just all about the right partner. And she says that back to him, when after they get their orders and stuff like that, she comes in and looking beautiful in the red dress and whatnot, and she just says that. And then as they're in the car, they're going after Red Skull. He's trying to fly off after they get his base and everything like that and knock everything down. She gives him a kiss, and and the comedy too so well. And then Chester's character, Tommy Lee Jones' character, Chester, looks at him and he's like, I ain't gonna kiss you. But you could feel that emotion. And then when he goes and he beats Red Skull gets obliterated and gets sent off into the universe. We know where he ends up at with the Soul Stone and stuff like that. But he gets evaporated. Tesseract falls through, and Steve is like, yo, this is on autopilot. I have to make the sacrifice. And Peggy comes on, and even Chester in this moment, he's a hard ass throughout the whole fucking movie. This moment right here, I love so much, because Peggy's like, Steve, we still got, blah, blah, and he's like, clear the room. Something bad's gonna happen. Something bad's gonna happen. And you get this emotional moment between these two. And he says, hey, maybe we could do our dance next weekend, and she's like, yeah, maybe next week, don't be late. And you just feel it inside your heart, because it ain't gonna happen for a while. But then when you think of the scene at the end of Endgame, when he finally dances with Peggy, it's just so beautiful. And they start this movie off where we find him in the ice, and then we end this movie, I think, at a perfect, he wakes up, it's 70 years later and stuff like that, and he's like, what's freaking out what's going on. He knows the baseball game's bullshit, because he said he was at that game. He leaves and walks up and wakes up in a totally different New York City. He's met by Nick Fury, and the one thing that really just brought it home for me is like deep down and just tore my soul as an individual is when he just stops, and yeah, he's in a different time, and he just looks and goes, I'm late for my date, and you're like, fuck, and it ends right there. The after credit scenes, basically the commercial, the trailer for the Avengers, but still it ends right there, and you're like, damn, and there's so many great elements in this movie, man, and so much that sets up everything. And I wrote a little thing here. I said, I feel this movie is a perfect superhero movie. It's a real relatable character who is not afraid and wants to do the right thing. Even when he gets the super soldier serum, he still is put down, and he tries to prove himself in that aspect, and he does, and he proves himself and shows the little guys can win. And, I like that for the little guys, to the people out there who get bullied, to the people out there who are trying in life, to people out there who are struggling, we're doing our best, and we just have to remain who we are, a good person. We got to keep fighting the battles we need to fight, man. And I just love this movie so much. And after watching it, my wife's looking at me, she's like, "You crying?" I'm like, "Oh, this movie's so good. This movie's so good." I love The Winter Soldier too, because it has some layers there. But this one right here, man, is I think I'm going to keep this tradition up starting this year, going forward. I'm going to watch Captain America, the First Avenger, because it reminds me of why I love this country, the reasons why I love this country is all in this film, and the idea of just being a good person. And that's the way things are not today, and it kind of sucks. But, I don't like speaking on politics or all the other bullshit, because I don't believe in negativity and bringing negativity. Even though I am negative about things and of movies and stuff like that, I just think the real world kind of sucks. This is why I embrace myself into these things like music and movies and comic books and pro wrestling and shit like that. I want to stay inside my bubble, and everyone that's been rocking with me knows that. I just I'll talk shit here and there, but it's just like at the end of the day, I'm like, man, just keep me in my bubble. And today, just chilling and watching Captain America, the First Avenger, it really brought all the feelings out of why I'm a fan. Why, and the great Stan Lee cameo and everything like that. And I still have to see the documentary. There's a lot of controversy behind that, but Stan Lee was the ultimate salesman. He sold his ass off, and not mentioning Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, all that stuff, because Stan Lee was always at the forefront of being the guy on camera, being the personality, Excelsior. And I heard a lot of things about this documentary. Just really, it shines a big light about Stan, but a lot of other people kind of get pushed to the side, And I know, I believe Kirby's son had his daughter write a piece, saying like, "Hey, a Stan Lee documentary, yeah, sure, blah, blah, blah." But it's crazy, And I just look at it, what he was the ultimate salesman. He was the ultimate personality of being the forefront of being in front of Marvel. But also too, creators of comic books get screwed over. And people who help create these characters, look at poor Bill Finger. Bill Finger died broke, and finally his first credit was Batman versus Superman. After how many movies of Batmans we've had, he finally got credited for Batman versus Superman as being one of the co-creators with Bob Kane. And Bob Kane, I would feel is more of the villain of that aspect, because he definitely just pushed him to the side and took all the great ideas from Bill, applied it, and made it his own. And it's crazy. I'm just speaking on that because only reason I'm speaking on this is because I've heard a lot of things about the Stan Lee documentary. But back to the movie. Captain America, the First Avenger, 2011, 2 hours, 4 minutes, man. Just watch this movie. Watch this movie with your kid. My kid was watching with me, and she was just like, Captain, he keeps fighting. He keeps getting up. He never gives up. And that's why when he's the man out of time in the Avengers movie, it works so well, because now he has to play with these elements of Tony and stuff like that. And we've seen him grow throughout these movies all the way to trying not to lose himself. And that's why when you get those great moments in Endgame and him and Tony's like, "You said we're going to lose together. Well, guess what? We lost and we weren't together. You said we're going to win." All this stuff. And then that moment in Infinity War when after everyone disappears and Thanos walks out and he's like, "We lost," And then when they finally win, he goes back in time and he gets to have the life with Peggy. He gets his dance. He finally has his date. And just thinking about it wants to choke me up a little bit and make me cry inside. And it's just such a cool thing seeing where this all started and knowing where it finishes. And it watching this movie again with all that in mind, it just brings out everything. So, all right, y'all. That's it. That's all. I just wanted to share my thoughts on Captain America, the First Avenger. I know there's millions of reviews and stuff like that, but if you're following along, if you're new to this, to the Paper Saber universe, or just to the Sexy Ninjacast, I talk about movies and some things happen where random movies that I watch, I want to talk about. You know, I take notes and stuff like that. So I just want to share my thoughts on this movie, especially on 4th of July and everything like that. And now I want to watch The Rocketeer after seeing this. Rocketeer is so good. Well, all right, y'all. Tell me what you thought of the movie when you first saw it, when it came out in 2011. Where were you? You know, what was your ambition for this Marvel Cinematic Universe? And now we got shows and movies and all this stuff. And then, you know, coming back to now, and I'm just like, wow, you know, it was such a different time back then. All right, y'all. Like and subscribe. Share it with your grandma. Share it with your grandpa. Share it with the bum down at Walmart. I am KMB, the Sexy Ninja. And as always, stay sexy, ninjas. Whoop, whoop!
What happens tomorrow, you must promise me one thing. That you will stay who you are. Not a perfect soldier, but a good man.
Welcome to the wicked shit.